Just when America has reached a breaking point with division, visionary influencer Danni Benson's I'm Proud of You Sis bro movement taps into the pulse and heartbeat of a culture radically torn. But this loving mom's voice of reason and calm has received national recognition.
How do you balance having your children and always traveling with the Yankee organization?
When I became a dad, I said that I would always love like a mother.
I feel like I have to try certain things or act a different way because I know some people or some kids.
So join Danni Benson as she celebrates her special guests on her show and highlights their gifts and contributions to our world.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danni Benson, host of I'm Proud of You Sis. Please like, share, and follow. And watch me on Channel 20 Optimum every Thursday at 4 p.m. Thank you for joining. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental health. I'm a mental health advocate. That's my baby. I especially for the youth. I'm so into getting the youth to understand that their feelings matter, and to understand that therapy matters even at the earliest of age of like first grade, because our feelings shape who we are. Our feelings are our choices that we make in our head, traumas are in our head, and feelings. And I feel like if kids don't know how to navigate their feelings, sometimes they end up making mistakes that they get to regret later. And also in just knowing how to talk about your feelings and being expressive about your feelings, you need to know the words. And a lot of kids don't know the words of what's going on with their traumas. And I'm just such a component and champion of mental health, because it's just that last component that we all need to participate in to make this world a better place, because all these things that we spew out sometimes are based on our feelings, and we need the world to be more peaceful, more kind, more open to others. So I have Tani G here. She is the CEO of Steps with Sisters. She is a mental health advocate. She's a motivational speaker. She's a coach. She's a mom. And we're just here today to talk about just mental health and how is that important to talk about on a daily basis, just like we talk about everything else on a daily basis, because everything that we do every single day has some sort of feelings and emotions on it, including our choices. So everyone, welcome Tani G to the show. Hi, Tani, how are you?
Hi, Danny.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, doll. How are you?
I'm good. Let me just arrange my camera. You look fabulous today. I want to give you your flowers. I am so proud of you, sis. I am proud of what you're doing for the community, and your volunteerism, and especially in the arena of mental health. You have a nonprofit called Steps with Sisters, and I wanted you to talk to me about just your perspective on mental health and the mental health crisis that is currently going on in our country right now, whether they want to recognize it or not.
Oh, first, let me just say thank you for having me on your podcast. And this month of May is especially important to me. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. And, as a NAMI peer-to-peer certified trainer, this is something that, I just like to keep the light shine on mental health. My nonprofit, yes, I am the president and executive director. My nonprofit, Steps with Sisters. Basically, we are a 501c3 based here in Brooklyn, New York, and we advocate for positive mental health and wellness for women. We live by a level 3 living is what we call it. That's our little term we come up with, level 3 living, which is, it's divided into 3 things. That would be to educate, inspire, and encourage positive mental health.
And then what have you seen the mental health trajectory after COVID, the pandemic?
The one positive that came from the pandemic was that there was a greater light shined on people that were dealing with mental health. You know, being on lockdown, as we would call it, being locked down, we had to be isolated to the house with loved ones or sometimes by ourselves. You know, I can remember living out in New Jersey with a 3-year-old son and just being isolated all that time. You know, it will take its effect on you. And after coming out of the pandemic, because during that time, you have to remember all therapy sessions were shut down. And for a very long time, they didn't even offer them online. You couldn't even do online sessions. And I used to come into Manhattan for my therapy sessions weekly. It was not possible. So you're sitting there suffering in silence again, and everyone's suffering and going through the same thing. You know, I mean, let's think about it socioeconomically, you know, whether you're in a domestic violence situation, whether you have children, or like I said, even if you're by yourself, you're sitting there suffering in silence. You really don't, what are you going to complain about when people are out here dying every day of a pandemic?
Yeah, that was a tough, and it definitely affected our children even more.
Yeah.
Because children look forward to be in social environments with their other friends, and for them to not be able to go to school, because we're both based in New York, so everybody knows the story of New York, how we were, you know, shut down, and I think we were in one of the last states to open up. It affected our children tremendously. How do you see that it affected the children that you get to see every single day?
Well, you know what? I already feel like this generation of children, and I'm going to just be honest, my oldest is 25. So that they already have a gap in learning how to have a conversation on the phone, if we're honest, a proper phone conversation. Everything is done via text now or via social media. So they were already disconnected in that aspect of not even wanting to have conversations. I mean, I can remember younger cousins or even my daughter calling me in the middle of an interview saying she didn't know how to say this. And I'm like, you literally just say it. So if that generation is already sort of disconnected from speaking verbally and doing everything from their phones, you know, it's a higher pressure put on them, so to speak. They're isolated, and you have kids, like you said, you start looking at mental illness from a very young age. You know, that's where you kind of focus. My main focus starts at 15. Mm-hmm. Because I do know that most traumas are set up and your first memories are acquired at about 4 years old, you know? Mm-hmm. So you're sitting here and these kids are trying to navigate what's new for them. Everything changes, you know? I can honestly say, because that was my daughter's senior year of college, and she was supposed to do abroad in Italy. She'd just gotten accepted to go there abroad for her senior year. And that was a devastating blow for her to have to be there, to not even get to March, you know, for their graduation. They actually had to do everything. We had to do it virtually, you know, so that's another form of disconnecting.
And and for those children, I don't even know how much, I hope they do a study of those children that were not able to go to their graduation, mm-hmm. to their prom, because you wait all your life, especially when you're an American. You start kindergarten and all you look forward to is senior year at high school before, I'm going to take these out for a second. Like senior year in high school, right? Where your focus is graduation, walking down the aisle, your prom, going to college for the first time. I'm trying to figure out what are going to happen to those kids, because I bump into those kids sometime and talk to them, and they're still kind of, some of them are still kind of in a depression of disbelief that they were not able to walk, not able to go to their prom. Even freshman year, a lot of them had to stay at home so they were not able to experience freshman year in college, you know, because that's what everyone looks forward to. What do you think the damage that has been done to that isolated group?
I do believe it's a traumatic experience for everyone, but it was more impactful on those children, especially the ones looking to, like you said, prom. That's a major for all of us. We can remember, heck, I can remember going to 2 proms in my senior year, just being happy to go to prom. You know, that's one of the greatest experiences of high school. And then your graduation to decorate your cap, to come across the stage, you know, those things. I remember all those things. And your freshman year is your first time away from your parents, away from home. You just know you're grown in your head, you know. To
But
that
I mean,
senior,
and just think about this. They didn't even get to get their yearbook signed. That was like one of the
oh
major
God,
things.
yes, remember that?
You
No,
get your
they didn't.
yearbook,
They
everyone
didn't
is
get
putting
that.
messages down, signing and saying,
But to
I,
watch my daughter and all of them have to write their messages online and do everything virtually, like literally, they didn't even, the way they gave their graduation was they showed their picture. Everybody submitted their favorite picture of themselves and they put it up and put up your accolades on the side of it. Imagine that being your, so you won't have that experience to tell your kids about, you know, though that's also a form of trauma. That's very traumatic. I mean, and my daughter, she does that. She's like, I felt cheated out of my college years, my last 2 years of college. That's true. You know, I do believe they're going to, well, they're going to need therapy. They're going to need therapy. It's going to be essential.
yeah, especially when people start talking about the past and, oh, I remember when I did this, I remember when I did that. And to know that you don't have those shared experiences.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah,
one of those
that's
things that we all have those shared experiences. It's just, you know, graduation, prom. That's one thing I think a lot of American kids have in common. It's like the graduation and the prom and the yearbook.
Right.
And, you know, and to know that people are going to be talking about it, you know, in the future and you're not able to relate. I think that's going to definitely be a trigger.
It is, but okay, let's flip the side of that coin. What about the parents that was trying to teach kids with the new math that we don't know?
The core.
The
core.
Like you're at home, you're a home teacher now. You're home teacher.
The core. Like the core where I have 50 million post-its, or I'm teaching them how I'm teaching them. My kids like, no, you can't teach me that way. You're confusing me.
Or you're showing them the way in which you were taught to do it.
That's the way.
Like, what is that? What is that?
Look, let me just tell you something. I'm diversing a little bit. I think, especially in New York, I don't know if the whole country has this core curriculum like how New York has it. Mm-hmm. They should definitely teach the parents a class or have it in YouTube. Mm-hmm. So I know how to do it so I could teach my kids. Like
when you're expecting homework to be returned, yes. It's like, who's giving the tutorial for the parents? Is this a summer course? We definitely need to be schooled on it because I'm like, what is this you're doing?
Honestly, I know I'm gonna sound crazy. I don't even see the point to it. I'm just like, I don't even see the point to core. I understand that they're making it. It's like you got to break it apart and figure it out. I know we're diversing a little bit, but I have an issue with this core. I just feel like the way we were taught, like straightforward, it was like the best way because
it was the best way.
Not everyone thinks differently. Everyone's brain is wired differently. I felt like the straight way was like to the point.
It was. Come on, we knew how to break down the sentence. You start off with the subject, then the verb, then the predicate. You know, come on, we knew those things. Yeah. We knew how to break it down, but now that's not even enough. And it's like, wait, what? What? I don't know. I'm adjusting because my son is quite young, but he makes it a little easier for me. He really does. His brain works differently, so he makes it easier. But that's trauma. Like I said, that's a traumatic experience because if I'm wrong and I'm teaching you wrong, that's a reflection of me.
Then you fail.
And I bust my butt to get through college twice, and I don't know how to do this.
You know what? Let me ask. So steps with sisters.
Yes.
What is your mission statement?
Well, like I said, basically to teach and advocate for positive mental health and wellness in women. That's my mission statement. That I stand firm on that. I've known for a very long time since I was a little girl. My mom always told me, "You're a feminist. You're a feminist," and I used to think, I don't think I'm the bra burning feminist, you know. But I always said maybe she attributed to I'm a feminist because I'm very feminine. You know, I'm the girl that will show up in a dress, wanted to wear a dress every day to school, you know. And I just kept thinking, okay, well, how do I help women? Because I just want to help women. So my point was to say, very early in life, we saw our parents helping people. My mom was the person that would do the voters registration, you know, in the community. She would go rent a van to pick up the seniors for election day. To my dad, being in psychology and watching him. And I think the greatest moment that was pivotal for me, knowing that I was going in the right way in starting Steps with Sisters, was at my dad's funeral almost 15 years ago. And when his clients start walking up to that first row to thank us for giving our dad so much to them, more than we probably felt like we had him, it was just a blessing to see the work he done. I mean, there was one time we were having an event in the backyard and one of his clients walked up to the fence, and you're just kind of freaking out. And, my dad was the person to make sure everybody's safe, go in the house or whatever. But, that just shows you the lineage of greatness you come from. And that when you accept what your purpose is and you learn to stand in it, but you also ask God to lead you so you don't mislead anybody else or hurt anybody in this. Because if I want to encourage positive mental health, I surely don't want to damage anybody else's,
No, you're so right. So so in the community, are you also active in the community and trying to spread the message of mental health? Because I know funding for mental health is not where it should be. And I know that's both of our frustrations, because they put so much into physical health and not understand that your feelings in your brain, the decisions you make is just as important. So how do you feel about the funding when it comes to mental health and people not understanding like it is important, and there would be less crime, like less suicide, it'll be less sexual abuse, probably, like anything that we deem as a crime. I feel that if every person was introduced to mental health at the earliest of age, then we can stop a lot of those things from happening.
Here in the community, I do a lot of volunteering. I have so many memberships to so many organizations, but it's me donating my time, because it's like you said, the funding is not always there. And you literally have a book of paperwork to fill out just to apply for any type of assistance, especially grants. And I'm a pretty good writer. So for me to just have to even go through the grant writing system, that was a lot for me, but that's not the only loophole. It's like yes, they tell you that these things are available. Unfortunately, they make it so hard for you to apply to get there that sometimes you have to hire someone just to do the administrative work, just to get the information submitted correctly, because you're not really sure. I've never submitted for a grant, because this would be the first year that I would qualify to submit for a grant. I started my nonprofit in New Jersey the year before the pandemic happened, but I didn't stand in that shoe fully until after the pandemic. So, it's really hard. It's hard because, if we go by statistics, one in five adults experience a mental issue of illness each year. 1 in 5 of us. I can get out here and speak until I'm blue in the face. I can volunteer. I can show up. I can pull together a group of friends that we all can sit in a safe space and publicly discuss our traumas, just to stand up, to bring more awareness to it. That's my biggest thing, to keep it on the forefront, to keep people talking about it, to have those conversations. Nobody, it's like you said, you can't physically see that. And if you're not out doing the work, doing the research, nobody's checking for the statistics. Let's be clear. Unless we're out here, you and I, advocating, and more people like us that are pushing this. And I have to think about what the actor Dwayne Johnson said. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. We say, oh yeah, check on your neighbor. All your neighbor has to do is say, I'm fine. You don't ask anything further than that, and they're probably not. You don't know what's going on behind those 4 walls in that door.
Yeah, like that's what I mean with mental health. I just feel that it's like the forgotten disease.
Yeah. And like you said, going back to our youth, our teenagers, it's 20% of kids aged 13 to 18 that are experiencing mental crisis every year. 20%.
And if those mental crises are not being resolved, They're just carrying that emotional baggage, and they're making their choices based on that emotional baggage, which sometimes is not the greatest result. Sometimes it's not the best decision. Sometimes it's decisions that might get them into trouble. So, I mean, what can we do as what can we do to make a difference? Because I still don't understand why is it so hard for insurance companies to understand that you have to cover those sessions. Like
Well,
you can't say, okay, 6 weeks and that's it. Or sometimes you
see,
might.
I don't know anything about 6 weeks. What's the 6 weeks?
So
Because if you are
sometimes with
enrolled
insurance
in
companies,
therapy,
sometimes with therapy, insurance companies will say, we'll approve like the first 8 weeks.
okay, but that would personally depend on individual insurance, correct?
Yes.
Because you can have ongoing insurance and sessions. That's needed. And now it's so easy. You can do it on the phone. You don't even have to show up. You don't have to do video. You literally can take your therapy sessions on the phone now. You can take them on your lunch break. We really have to keep showing up at the schools. We really have to keep creating safe spaces in the schools for kids to have a voice. But we also have to tread that fine line of when should CPS be brought in. You understand? A simple trauma at home is a child coming to school acting out in anger simply because they're hungry. They don't have food at home. Who are they going to feel comfortable coming to school to say that to? That's an embarrassment, number one, for that kid. And they're dealing with that. They're dealing with the hunger. They're dealing with, and sometimes it's not a parent purposely neglecting. Understand, these parents are caught, some of them are caught in a mental spiral themselves, and they're just barely waking up every day. We have to think of better ways. I'm the person to go and speak at a church, speak at a school. We discuss these things once a month at the United Nations. We mental health matters. We have to keep showing up and knocking doors down and asking, hey, what are you doing? Don't show me a number on paper, or don't give me a number and I see nothing from that number. You understand?
No,
That's
I
all we can
definitely.
do.
And don't talk about it and not be about it, and do something about it. Because we see how much it's affecting our children. And my goal is to destigmatize mental health. My goal is like not destigmatize mental health, but to destigmatize going to therapy and getting help. Like, you're not crazy. Like, people think you only go get help if you're crazy. You're not crazy if you want to get help. Sometimes you need help just to manage your feelings, your thoughts. Sometimes you need help because you're going through a tough time in your life. And you might not have a support group. You might not have someone to talk to. And even if you do, doesn't mean that they can give you the best advice, right?
True.
So sometimes it's good to go sit to somebody who is, who's a professional, when you talk to them, that whatever you share with them is between you and them.
Yeah, that's that safe
thing
space.
too.
Yeah.
It's that safe place, because you could be talking to your friends, and then you turn around, your friends are telling somebody else.
Unfortunately. And sometimes I'm going to take it back to the 13 to 18-year-olds maybe, but 13 on up. Sometimes you don't even realize you're dealing with anxiety or depression. You don't know. In your head, nothing looks different, and it's like you said, you think it's as simple as, maybe I'll call a girlfriend and talk to her about it, whatever. And then all of a sudden you hear someone else bring something up in a whole nother conversation or something else, and there goes that safe space. So you're sitting there just processing and piling on. And you and I both know, as women, as mothers, we sit and try to fix all and do all for everybody around. I don't care what the favor is. I'll figure out how to get it done. It's just, I've come to learn as of January 1 of this year, no is a complete sentence. You can put a period, an explanation point, but you cannot put a question mark. If I say no, no is it.
And no is creating boundaries too.
Yes, and it's much needed. Like I said, we don't know what headspace, but also when people feel like they don't have those, they don't know where to go for the therapy. Let's start there. That's where people like me come in. If you don't know where to go, I'll help you find the resource. I'm quick to give someone my number and say, hey, reach out to me. Let's have a discussion, and I'll make some phone calls. Now, it's only up to so far I can go because they personally want information. But as long as I can make the connection, and if that's not the right person for you, let's get somebody else on the line, because it has to be catered to what works for you. Because everybody doesn't understand, number one, our plight. Let's be honest. All therapy is not for everybody. You have to find what works for you.
Well, give me your handles right now while we're talking about, your nonprofit. I want everyone to know how they can get in touch with you and speak to you, and maybe have you, coach them or come to a panel or talk or come to one of their events as a motivational speaker. Because, I am so proud of you, sis. I'm very proud of what you're doing for the community. Mental health is like one of those things that, we don't like to really talk about, because it seems like it's a sign of weakness when you talk about your feelings or what you're going through. But we could talk about a broken leg. We could talk about we have diabetes. We could talk about a heart attack. We could talk about breast cancer. We could talk about anything that's physical. We have no problems talking about it. It's accepted. People don't think you're crazy. But as soon as it's something that has to do with your mind, it's a problem.
Yeah, not only do we mentally shut down, sometimes we're physically shut down by others. That's something. I can be reached on Steps with Sisters Inc. on Instagram. My Twitter's the same, as well as my Facebook. It's that simple, Steps with Sisters Inc. Just don't forget to put the ink on there. And if I could just say, as we navigate this month of mental health awareness, and beyond, let's just continue to break down the barriers. Let's silence the stigma and have the conversations and just support one another. Every one of us are on a mental health journey. We're humans. Every one of us. Not everyone is firsthand experiencing mental illness, but you may be a person that's secondhand. That means you're the caretaker of that person. You stand in your own trauma because you're still trying to catch that. We just got to stand together and just know we can make a difference when we create access, number one. And we have to hold people accountable, saying, oh, we have access. Let just put your money where your mouth is what my mom used to say. We have to hold people's feet to the fire and say, show us this access. How do we get this access? But also make it easier. Because like I said, if I have to hire administrative team to help me get applications filled out, that's a problem. Come on, it doesn't have to be that rigorous. It really doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a problem. So
I feel like everyone should have access to the care and understanding. It's not only about care, but it's also about understanding that they deserve. That's how I feel about it.
In your perfect world, how would you want to see how mental health is being handled in our country?
Wow. In my perfect world, I want us to not just be a voice, but I want us to use empathy, no matter what our positions are. You understand? I don't care if you're an officer. I don't care if you're clergy. I don't care if you're a teacher. I don't care if you're an advocate like me. Let's use empathy. Empathy is going to be the biggest component in the first step of acknowledging mental health and awareness. Then we would have access to not only what you would say is the adequate health care, but like I said, the insurance, it shouldn't be that hard, because when you said some places only offer 6 sessions, that's insane to me. There's an egregious amount of money tied up in the insurance system where one should be able to get the help they need, even if you can't see that they physically need it. To me, in a perfect world, we would have more empathy for one another and just come together and help. It's more than just opening your mouth to say, oh, we're doing this. Okay, no. We have to be boots on ground and just show up. Just show up. And like I said, taking it a step further than when you ask a loved one or a friend, how are you today? And they say, I'm fine. Offer to go for a walk. Offer to do a video chat. You know, sometimes it's a lot easier if you can just lay eyes on that person, is what they say in the South. If you can see them, you can see a person's demeanor, their body language. You can, if it's like this, you can see their surrounding. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just having empathy to take one step further. And it's not, people want to say it's being nosy. It's not being nosy. I think it's showing compassion and genuine care for other people.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, you have to dig in. Even when someone says they're fine, you have to follow up with another question.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel that maybe they're not fine.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. Because if you knew that there was something going on and you didn't hear anything for a long time, you know, and nobody said anything, but that person's not answering their phone, they're not returning calls, they're not answering their text messages, you know, that's kind of how that spiral looks. Because at some point, you can't get out of bed, you can't move, and like I said, when you're out here and we're as moms out here, our kids depend on us. I don't care who's around, dad, whatever. 100% of the time, those kids are going to come to us first. And if I can't pick me up and stand, how can I show that kid how to stand?
And also, we're an example to our kids, right? Like, because if I'm taking care of my mental health, my self-care, then your kids watch you and emulate that. And then you also, I feel like as parents, we have to make a safe place for our children. Yes,
we do. We do. And I hate when people say these new moms. First of all, I'm not that new of a mom, but I do. We have much more patience than what was given to us as kids. Let's just be honest about that. You know, I was brought up, my dad was not strict, Lord knows. I'm blessed that I could do no wrong in his eyes. But my mother was always the strict person, you know, and you just try to navigate through that. And you say, I'm going into adulthood. What type of parent do I want to be? You know? And I'm that parent that does allow her kids to bring it back to me. Hey, come talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Because my thing is, I cannot help you if you don't tell me or if you don't give me the truth. I will fight. I'll stand and debate anyone to the ground. I'll stand to defend you in court if I have to. But if I don't give you that space to say, hey, mom, this is not right. This is not, I don't feel right, or this happened. You know, those are things because we want our kids to feel comfortable in that space and telling us. So.
Yeah. So and your kids feeling comfortable in that space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like one day, I think my daughter said, one day you say we're friends. My daughters know that I'm not friends with them, but I always say you have to tell mommy everything, right? Mm-hmm. How do we make our kids comfortable enough to tell us everything without feeling that they're gonna get in trouble for what they say?
I have the perfect thing for this. Now I'm the opposite mom of you, because I will say that.
Okay, what kind of mom you are? You're the friend mom? You're the friend mom?
So, like, my daughter, her nickname is Prinny. It started out as Priend.
Prinny.
So it started out as Priend, like my princess and friend. Her, as a little girl, I called her Priend.
Oh,
so
wow.
As she got older, it's Prinny, just Prinny. Prinnny, just Prinny. But I've always been that mom. I know it's bad. I know my family and friends look at me like, what now? But it's also a thing. I teach them respect. Number one, I need you to respect me. Then respect yourself. And I stand under what my grandmother taught us. You better not go out of that door and embarrass me. No. If the example I put in front of you was that, I'd expect that. Now I know that the world will show our kids something different. But I feel like by the time they're exposed, that we have instilled in them what's going to be there. You understand? Mm-hmm. They get to make that choice. Mm-hmm. Right or wrong, you know, they get to make that choice. But I always tell my kids, is it going to help you? And is it going to hurt me? That means if I'm going to have to come out of pocket for a lawyer, if I'm going to have to come, you just have to live on that. So I'm that kind of mom. So my kids can come to me, literally they overshare sometimes, but they can come to me and say anything. That's why that space is different for me.
But what happens when it's time to discipline though? Because you are the friend.
I don't spank, so I am that punishment person, but my punishment can be traumatic. I will say that I learned that in hindsight from my daughter when she
traumatic how?
Oh wow. Don't have a favorite toy that you liked and you really were disrespectful. Oh yeah, you don't have that toy anymore. The hammer probably got. So at the same time, I didn't realize until my daughter was an adult and going to therapy, and she told me how traumatic that was, that I took her one time. She had a Game Boy or something, and I don't know, she done something. It was extremely crazy, but anyway, it was disrespectful. Yeah, I took it and I took a hammer and broke it in half. So that's.
But
that's
girl,
fine.
you took a hammer, broke it in half. You pay for it. That means you got to pay
Oh
for it.
no, I didn't pay for it. But listen, I'm not gonna buy it over either.
Wait, so like, you're not gonna, all right. So basically, you put a hammer to it, but don't you have to pay for another one?
I didn't buy it. That was on her dad. No, listen, no.
That is traumatic.
But you know what?
That is traumatic.
I had my daughter at 22. I'll say that. I had my daughter at 22, and there's an 18-year difference between my kids. So I parent my son very differently than I parented my daughter. I always admit to that her dad took the reins. Her dad was, I worked all the time. That was me. I literally did work all the time. And in my head, me thinking, I have to work. We have to have this lifestyle. We have to do this. That's what I understood as being a good mom. Not thinking I didn't show up every week to lunch at school with her. I didn't show up for everything at school because I knew her dad would be there, And like I said, when your child is old enough to bring it back to your face, like I tell people, my daughter is the mirror for me. What I don't want to see, she's that mirror to hold it to me and say, this is what you've done. This is how you affected me. I can remember the first time my child came home after her freshman year of college for Christmas break, actually. And she told me she was in therapy because of me. That ripped my complete heart out because I sat here and I thought, I didn't abuse her. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But she said, you were always gone. You were always working. Everything I remember for school, my dad was there. I'm like, wow. That's why I said we can be inflicting trauma and not even knowing it because we're just trying to do the best we know how. So there is. That's why I said I've always created that space that my kids could say to me whatever, and they take full advantage of it. But the discipline, my daughter she's never given me a problem in her 25 years. Never. My son, he's probably going to be the wild card like his mother was. So we'll work on that.
You know what's so sad is like, as parents, we're so torn because this country expects us to work so much, and they forget that we have families that we have to raise, right? So it's like the choice is always like work, or be there for your children. Sometimes, like, I feel like in America, it doesn't give you like the compromise that you need, the balance that you need. I don't feel like the weekends are enough. The weekends is when you're running around, by the time you get home, you're exhausted, or sometimes people don't know how to leave work at home and they work at work and they come at home.
But right? Look at the other countries, look at Europe.
They have the summers off. Okay.
Huh?
They have the summers off.
No, not only that. Let's go as far as Eastern Europe, where my ex-husband is from. They shut down for 6 months.
6 months.
And it's called holiday. It's holiday.
What do you mean? Wait, what do you mean they shut down for 6 months? I thought they only shut down for like August. It was.
No, it's not. It's not that egregious there. It's not that strenuous. It's not the hustle and bustle. When he told me that years ago, I was like, dude, what? I was like, you guys get a break for how long? I'll take 2 months. I don't need 6, But it's also, I guess, lifestyles are different there. And I think maybe it probably because it was a bit more what they consider discipline there. that they probably were already prepared for this. You worked to build up this to take this time away, and it's not mandatory. It's a choice you get, but you're not made to have to go in there 365 days a week, because even when our kids get the summers off, we don't. We're still trying to pivot and pick up the pieces and prepare for the next school year to start. I don't know. Grace is not always extended.
No, but I just feel that what contributes to our kids' mental health too is this, sometimes us not being able to like really be there for them.
Yeah. And it is, like I said, I carried that guilt for a long time. I talked to my therapist about it for a very long time. And, I made the apologies and made the amends with it, things I couldn't change. But when you're just out here trying to figure out what parenting is, you don't know. You don't know when you're thinking, I'm not the mom that
we don't
my
get
mom was.
There's no manual. There's not. There has to be. I think like in high school, I guess maybe high school would be too young to talk about the parent manual.
Mm-hmm.
But I really think that they should start teaching us the parent manual.
Preparation. Yes, but then that's going to become a thing of what your culture is, because that plays a lot of it. Who we are and what our culture raised us to be has a lot to do with the decisions we make as parents. That I even under some cultures, to hear them say that that's the devil when somebody is suffering from mental illness. And I don't like to say it's an ignorance, ignorance is bliss, but it's like, where do you divide that line? Where do you divide that line to say help needs to be called? Somebody needs to step in. Oh, shoot. I don't know how to do this, Danny. Give me a second. I see something on my. Okay, I'm sorry about that. We're just out here. Like you said, it's no manual. We're trying to figure it out every day. And I'm learning still to give myself grace with it, because I'm hard on myself. I'm just a perfectionist, and I know I'll never be perfect, but I just really stand there and try to make sure my kids that I'm doing the right thing in front of them. I'm not purposely trying to hurt them. And even when I was younger and having my child, and I don't know how old she was when I broke the Game Boy, but just remembering, okay, now that I know how badly that bothered her, and I don't know if it was because it was her favorite toy or whatever, because my thing is, I'm not going to hit you. Even in my anger, I'm just not going to hit you. So like I said, for me, discipline looks like taking things that you enjoy. My son enjoys his laptop and his phone and television. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to take a break from that. Let's do some reading and some drawing. But then he doesn't mind doing that either. So it's kind of, but I know he's crippled if I take that phone. I know that.
So now that you have a son,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you spend more time with him now than how you spent time with your older daughter.
But that's also, life is more settled now. I'm older now. Life is more settled. I'm not on the go. I don't have to work for anyone else. That was the thing, because you and I both know, coming from corporate America, when you're not in charge of your schedule, I can remember being in a C-suite EA. That's all I've ever been for the 17 years I was in corporate America. Besides that, and working in investigations, but you're there to catch all. I can be up at 2:00 in the morning getting emails, and I'm up responding, because that's the way I was trained. And like you said, maybe in high school, there should be a course on adulthood, not just motherhood, but adulthood.
Or not just parenthood, but just adulthood. Yeah, because they're teenagers.
We didn't have boundaries in corporate America to say, oh, don't text me after 5:00. Don't text me at 3:00 in the morning. Or, before the pandemic, that's the one blessing that the girls that are still in corporate America got, that are EAs, I will speak up for them. That was the one luxury that was learned, is that you don't have to sit right there outside your boss's office 24/7, 365. You understand? Because no matter what, we were all sick trying to be in, because, oh, we need you right here. We need to see the physical you to make sure this is done. It really taught us another way of doing everything. We really had to rethink life, and especially in the professional setting. It had to be redone. So yeah, like I said, we didn't know that our bosses were stepping on our boundaries or pushing our boundaries, saying, "Oh, I'm going to need you to stay till 7:00." Doesn't matter if you have kids. You know how many nights I had to take company cars home, and I had a teenager. And my daughter, like I said, she remembers that. I always think she has a checklist somewhere. She kept notes of stuff. But like I said, it should be taught in high school, just adulting 101, and do it under the parameter of mental health, positive mental health. You have to have boundaries. You have to.
And you have to learn like how to say no. You got to learn, you have to learn boundaries. You got to learn self-care. You got to learn it's okay to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to jump from one relationship to the other.
Yeah.
You got to be okay with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to learn it's okay to go to therapy. You got to learn it's okay to fail.
Yes. Yeah. That's a main thing right there. That's a main plug right there. You have to know it's okay to fail. But you also know, in knowing that, you have to have that safety net. You have to have that safety net. And people will say, well, sometimes you won't have it. Then that takes you back to what you believe in spiritually. You understand? There's a safety in that, because I have to know that at the end of the day, if nobody else is going to show up for me, I have to know with all my heart, God's always going to make sure if I fall, he's going to pick me back up. May not be today or tomorrow, but he's going to make sure I get up. You know, that's the one thing I feel like I don't know if we're really teaching the youth. I don't even know where they stand on religion, so to speak, you know, on their spirit. Well, now it's spirituality, you know. It's so hard. It's so hard having conversations with youth sometimes, because you don't want to ruffle any feathers, because you don't know what to say, what's safe or whatever. So I kind of let them lead the conversation, and I go from there.
Yeah. And what would you tell the youth about mental health before we leave?
Just know that you are important. Your thoughts matter, but your actions show who you are. And just because you're hurt doesn't mean it's okay to hurt other people. You know, ask for help. Find someone, even in schools, find someone as an adult, a safe person you feel safe with. I mean, that's the one thing. It's okay not to be okay, but it's not okay to struggle. It's not okay.
And struggle as to what? What do you mean by struggle?
To suffer in silence. Whatever you're going through at home, whatever you're going through, whether it's between parent and child, a boyfriend situation or neighborhood situation, it's not okay to just struggle. That's a mental struggle, trying to take that on. Do you know how many times in corporate America I would walk through that turnstile in a train and my stomach would start hurting because I'm headed into work? That's a struggle. That's a mental knot that's there. And it's like, okay, I hope I don't get yelled at today. You understand? Those are traumas. Those are traumas.
You know, it's so crazy. Even our bosses gave us traumas.
Girl, I won't even.
I would like to have a
whole nother show.
I would like to have a
remember
sitting session with my bosses. I had some great bosses, but
and when they scream your name at the top of their and it's like, what did I do now?
I mean, corporate America is a trauma in itself sometimes. Like, woo! I feel like I'm dealing with different people's mental health.
That trauma. It didn't add up to that.
No, when I worked in, I just feel like I'm dealing with different people's mental health issues.
Yeah.
And they all bring it into work. Mm-hmm. You're wondering why this person's doing this, why this person's saying this, why are you like this? Like, this is why I think mental health is so important. Like, people really need to figure out the whys in their life. Like, why am I like this?
I remember what you asked me and I didn't answer. You said, how do you get your kids to create that relationship with you? One of my great friends, I'll let him talk about this at a later time. He said his mother would give him 1 hour every day to tell the truth. He could not get a spanking after it or before it. He had 1 hour to tell the truth about everything he'd done that day. And after that hour, it's never mentioned again. That's how you do it.
Really? 1 hour to tell the truth? And what about they don't tell the truth?
And there's no repercussions. No matter what you done that day, his mother gave him that 1 hour to tell the truth, and there's no punishment for it.
Wow.
I thought that was the wisest thing I'd ever heard. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know though, because you give them 1 hour to tell the truth, but that does that condone them doing whatever they're gonna do? Because if they have
No,
to tell
but
mommy the truth for 1
but
hour,
if
I'm
we're
fine.
instilling trust, we're instilling trust. So remember, my kids don't want to disappoint me. Like I didn't want to disappoint my parents. You understand? So, that 1 hour implies I'm trusting you. Come to me, and when you do that, it implies I trust you to be the best you. That's it. I think it works.
You know what? I'll maybe I can't even say I could try it because
Just try it.
my kids are smart enough where they'll do all their junk and they're like, as long as we tell mommy the truth within that 1 hour, it will be fine.
No, because your kids know you hold them to a standard. And they don't want to disappoint you. Now you might have one might push the buck, but both of them
I got one of those.
Right, both of them shouldn't buck the system. But I found that
I got my kids are super smart. They will use that loophole every single time. Like, Mom, you said you was gonna be mad for an hour.
Yeah, no, it's just like I said. But you don't tell them that's what you're doing. You don't tell them that's what you're doing. You understand?
What do you mean? You just said that you have to. I thought you
yes,
said
but you're not
hour.
saying you have 1 hour every day. You're not saying this is an everyday thing. You understand? You can just do it at random. It doesn't matter. So this is, and you can just use a word like, hey, this is our safe time. Let's go in the vault. That's what I call it with my friends. Let's go in the vault and have a conversation.
No, I like that.
Yeah, I just feel like once you, and it's not so much being their friend, but it's teaching them trust outside of my eyesight. I can trust you to represent me and be the best version of you. That's it.
No. I mean, like everyone has their way of, trying to discipline, their children, because your children best, right? Yes. So I don't feel like there is a right way and there's a wrong way. I know there's tons of books of how to do it, but I just feel like parents know their kids the best. And like I just want to say one thing, like timeout does not work for my kids. I've done the timeout. I remember I had timeout because I went to private school and they used to always give us timeout. Like we used to always have to stay on a corner for like 30 minutes. It's still, my whole thing was it just built my patience. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I can do this for 30 minutes. It didn't stop me from not doing the bad thing again. I'm like, okay. So I just think that you gotta know your kids to know the punishment.
No. Now see, I don't know. I wasn't what is it called? Because of all my parents' kids, I'm the one that's definitely going to push the table. But I did not become that way until I was older. That's for sure. I was very shy and a crybaby. If you spoke to me, like I didn't go to pre-K, kindergarten, Head Start, none of those things because I was a crybaby. If you said good morning, I started crying and they had to call for me to be picked up. So I was too shy. But once I found my voice, oh yeah, no. And then my thing was, if I'm going to do it, my punishment is going to be the same, no matter what I do. So I may as well just enjoy the ride because the punishment is going to be the same. But luckily, I didn't get kids like me.
My parents' punishment was fear. Woo, Lord, like I was just scared of them. I was like, they didn't have to be there. I was like, yo, if they find out.
Yeah, but see, for me, my grandmother held me to a standard of being a first lady and a Southern belle. So the one person I'd never in this life, even now that her eyes are closed, I never want to fail or embarrass is my grandma Kitty. No. So if I was gonna do something, I was gonna have a conversation with Kitty later.
No, but I wanted to give you your flowers. I'm so proud of your nonprofit, Steps with Sisters. I know you work so hard in the community, to give back especially in the mental health space, which is so needed right now more than ever. I want to give you your flowers. I'm so proud of what you're doing. I'm so happy that you came on the show and we just got to have a conversation about just mental health and what it means to you personally. I hope everyone had a great time watching the show. Do you have any last words you want to say, Tani, before we leave?
No, I thank you for lending your platform to me. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Just know that and keep standing up for our kids. Keep standing up for our kids because if if we don't fight, sometimes, like I said, sometimes a parent can't find their voice to fight. So that leaves you, people like you and I, that have to do it. I'm grateful for your show, and I'm proud of you as well, Danni. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And guys, please, I will see you next week. Thank you for having Tani on the show, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much. I'm proud of you, sis. Bye, guys.